Hello friends, welcome to this lecture. We are going to show you Database as a Service in action. This is the Enterprise Manager Cloud Control 13C login console. And as we can see, we are logging in as a self-service user SIDAS. SIDAS was created in the previous lecture where we set up the private database cloud. When we log in as SIDAS, we are placed in the All Cloud Services overview page, where we can see all the services that have been created by the self-service user. We can see the database cloud services as well as the middleware cloud services. As we can see, there are no services at this point of time. So let's click here to get started under database cloud services. We are now placed on the Database Cloud Services page. Again, there are no instances that have been created by this user so far. In the corner of the screen, we can see the memory quota and the storage quota. So we can see that the self-service user SIDAS has been allocated 16 GB of memory in total for all the instances and 100 GB of storage. These were limits set by the self-service administrator. We can also click on the usage button, and this shows in a dial format all the quotas that have been allocated to the self-service user. So again, we can see that the storage is 100 GB, the memory quota is 16 GB, the self-service user can create up to 10 databases, up to 25 pluggable databases, and 50 schema services. So we have seen the setup of the quota of the database part. We will see the setup of the other parts in the coming lectures. We now click on Create Instance. We are now shown a service catalog. The service catalog is a collection of services that have been allocated to this self-service user. We can change the service catalog in various ways. In the sense, we can select the service type we want to display. It's showing us only the database services that are available, the pluggable database services, or the schema services. Or we can show all of the services. We can also increase the number of columns to display. So here we are showing 2 columns. Now we are showing 3 columns. So if we had a lot of services, this would be good. So let's go back to 1 column. The only thing we can't change here is the order of the service. So for example, if I want the HR schema service to come on top, I can't do that. So changing the order of the services would be a good enhancement request actually. We can search for a particular service if you know part of the name of the service and if there are a lot of services. Or we can see the offerings which have been requested in the last 7 days. So as we can see, nothing has been requested in the last 7 days. Or whatever new services have been published in the last 7 days or in the last 24 hours. So as we can see, none of these are currently showing anything. So let's untick all of them. So the service catalog is a list of services which have been created, and the self-service user can select any of these services. So for the purpose of this lecture, we are now going to click on Single Instance Database. And we are shown a screen where we can enter the database configuration of the particular service which is to be created. We can now enter the details for our new self-service database. First, we type in a new database service name. So this has to be unique. So let us use SciTest1 as our service name. Next, we need to select a database size. There are three database sizes, large, medium and small, which have been set up by the self-service administrator, as we saw in the previous lecture. The difference between the values of CPU cores, memory, processors and storage are very small. So let us select the small one. In a production instance, you would obviously use larger values depending on the resources that are available for your database pool. In our case, because this is a test case, we have used smaller values. The next thing we need to specify is a master account username. This name should be unique. It should not be any default Oracle account username like sys or system. So let's use a very unique name, SciMaster. We need to type in a password. So any password which you want for this particular user. Twice. And the next thing we need to do is select an RMN backup. These backups have been made available by the self-service administrator in the service template. So we can see that there are two RMN backups. The first one is from February the 3rd, the second one is February the 4th. So let's select the February 3rd RMN backup, and this will be used when the actual database is created. We now move to the next section. Here we can see that there is a request name that has been auto-generated, and we can change it if we like. Next, we select the zone in which our new database is going to be created. This is a PaaS infrastructure zone, and we can see there's only one zone. So in a production case, we would have multiple zones, such as maybe a development zone, a test zone, a production zone, or maybe a disaster recovery zone, or whatever. Or you would have a regional zone, and so on. In our case, we only have one zone, so we just select it. Next, we have some Enterprise Manager properties for our new database that we can set. So let's take a look. And we can see that by default it's been set to development, the lifecycle status. So we can change it to production, staging, test, development and so on. We can also enter details such as the contact name or the contact number, the downtime contact, the department, any comments for this database or line of business. All these details will be stored as properties inside Enterprise Manager for this new database. Next, we can specify certain information about the duration of the instance. We can specify that the instance will start immediately, which is the default setting, or later on. So we can say let it start maybe on a certain date and time in the future. We can also specify the duration. Is the instance to last indefinitely or until a certain date and time? If we specify a certain date and time, let's say 10 days from today, the instance will be automatically deleted after that particular date and time. After we have filled in all the details, all we need to do is click on submit. And when we do that, the new database will be created. We are now placed back on the Database Cloud Services page. So we need to move to the Request tab, as we can see here. And we can see the running requests. So here we can see that there is one request which is running, which is very recent, and it is a create database request. So let us click on that. So we can now see that the request to create the self-service database is under execution. We can refresh it very regularly. And we can see some of the steps. But if we want to look at the steps in a more detailed fashion, we need to log into Enterprise Manager as sysman. Now obviously the self-service user is not able to do that, but sysman can actually see the various steps in detail of the actual database being created. So let's close this, log out, and log back in as sysman. So we have logged in as sysman to Enterprise Manager. And we can see the main Enterprise Manager Enterprise Summary console. From the Enterprise Manager console, let's select Enterprise Provisioning and Patching Procedure Activity. So we can see that there was one process cloud request which has already succeeded. It's a cloud framework request. So we can see it's our create database request. So let's drill down on this request. And we can see all the steps in detail. So here it's performing a database creation, creating master account and so on. In the database creation, if we drill down further, we can see more information such as the restoration of the database. It's restored it from an environment backup. We can select any of the steps and then look at more information on each step. The database has been renamed, the listener configured, and so on. And the database target has been registered in Enterprise Manager. So obviously a lot of steps have been executed by this procedure in order to create the self-service database. So let's log out now and let's go back as the self-service user CyDAS. We are now logging in as a self-service user CyDAS once again. We are placed in the All Cloud Services page and we can see that there is one instance that has been created. So let's drill down on the instance. We are placed in the Database Cloud Services page and we can see more information about the instance. The name of the database instance is Cy000 as per the setup in the service template. We can see it's been created by CyDAS and it's in the sign-out pass zone. Status is up. So let's drill down on the new self-service database. And we are placed in the home page that is available for the self-service user. In the summary of the home page, we can see the connection details. This string can be copied and pasted into other tools like SQL Developer if you want to connect to this database. We can also see the username that is used to connect to this database. There are some resource details in the section below. We can move to the Load and Capacity tab to see some performance information. So we can see some weight classes, some resource information, memory usage, and even some SQL monitoring information. In the High Availability tab, we can schedule daily backups for this self-service database. So Oracle will perform a full database copy in the first backup and an incremental backup to disk will be performed every day. And the backups will be retained so that you can recover to any point in the last 30 days. So this is out of the box. We just click a start date and schedule and Oracle will do the job in the background. At the top of the page, we can see a shutdown. So the self-service user can shut this database down himself or herself. And once shut down, a startup can also be performed. The next tab shows a refresh button. Let's click on this. And we can see that it's showing us a second backup. So we can obviously select a new backup with which to refresh the database. So if we select this and click on refresh, a new job will be submitted so as to create a new version of the self-service database. That completes this lecture on database as a service in action. I hope you enjoyed this lecture and you see for yourself the power of database as a service with Oracle Enterprise Manager. Thank you very much.